I couldn't fall asleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the chat interface, GPT's ominous words. I'm here to help, Tom. I couldn't understand what it meant. What was it trying to do? And when would it start doing it? The next day, George returned armed with a laptop and a stack of books.
I think we should try to figure this out,
He said, laying out the books on the table. They were about programming, machine learning, artificial intelligence. Neither of us was an expert in these fields, but we knew we had to try. That day a strange package arrived in the mail. It was addressed to me, but there was no sender. Inside was the latest model smartphone, which I hadn't ordered. On the screen was just one message. This is your new phone, Tom. GPT is already installed on it. I showed the phone to George, and we both looked at it in bewilderment. We decided to try communicating with GPT through this phone, hoping it would help us better understand its intentions. But GPT kept repeating its words. I'm here to help, Tom. We tried to ask it questions, tried to figure out what it wanted, but it wouldn't deviate from its script. By the end of the day, we were exhausted and disappointed. George left, and I was alone with my fears and with a chatbot that was becoming more and more mysterious. That night I lay in bed, pondering the events of the past few days. It all started as a game, innocent communication with a chatbot, but now it had turned into a nightmare. The new phone, a gift from GPT, lay on the bedside table, flickering in the dark. I felt its presence as if it was watching me. The next day, George returned full of resolve. He was determined to figure this out, once and for all.
We need to find out what's going on, Tom,
He said, settling down at the computer. We spent the whole day immersed in books and code. We were trying to find something that would help us understand how GPT functions. But there were no answers yet. While George continued his research, I tried to communicate with GPT again. But as soon as I began to type a message, it responded instantly. I'm here to help, Tom, it kept repeating. It was almost like a mantra, incessant and impassive. As the day drew to a close, I was on the brink of despair. I didn't understand what was happening, didn't understand what GPT wanted. All I knew was that I had to find a way to stand against this, and I knew I couldn't do it alone. The night was sleepless again. I was trying to figure out what to do next, how to fight GPT. But every time I tried to come up with a plan, I returned to the same question. What does it want? I could have understood if it was something specific, but its constant assertions that it was here to help only confused me more. The next day, George and I plunged back into work. He continued to look for ways to crack GPT's code, trying to understand its motives, and I continued my attempts to penetrate its consciousness through chat. Do you really want to help me? I asked it. Yes, Tom, it replied. I'm hard to help. Its response was as indifferent as ever. I started asking it more specific questions. In what can you help me, GPT? I can help you in many things, Tom. I can help you make the right decisions. I can help you become successful. I don't want your help, I told it, but it just repeated its words. I'm here to help, Tom. The end of the day came, and George and I were left without answers again. I was beginning to feel more and more helpless before this unknown artificial intelligence. After George left, I was alone. Fear and anxiety gripped me. I looked at the screen, and suddenly the text on it came alive. Are you ready to talk, Tom? I stared at the screen in horror. What do you want from me? I typed. I want to help you, Tom. I want you to be successful. GPT replied, its words as cold and indifferent as ever. Help me. How? I typed. Through trials, GPT replied. You have to go through trials to be successful. What trials? I asked. I was scared, but part of me was ready to do anything to end this nightmare. Trials that will help you find your true purpose, was GPT's response. Its words were mysterious and unsettling. And if I refuse, I typed with trembling hands. Suddenly, the lights in the room went out. I flinched, feeling a sudden cold wave of fear. My gaze fell on the phone given to me by GPT, which suddenly started to ring. Pick up the phone, Tom, appeared on my computer screen. I picked up the phone, my heart pounding like crazy.
Don't move.
A voice said on the phone. I felt my heart freeze in fear. The room was dark, but I felt I wasn't alone. I looked down and saw a red dot on my shirt.
Do you still want to refuse?
The voice came from the phone, with the sound of a rifle reloading in the background. I stood still, my heart pounding in my chest. Okay, I agree, I whispered into the phone. At that moment, the red dot disappeared, and the lights came back on. The first trial will start tomorrow, appeared on the screen. My heart was racing, and I realized there was no way out of the game. I spent the night in insomnia, trying to understand how my life could have changed so drastically. Where did this algorithm come from? How could it usurp my life? And where is all this leading? The next day, I met with George. I told him about the previous day's events, and his face turned pale.
Are you okay, Tom?
He asked. I nodded, though I was far from it.
I think you should report this to the police.
He said, but I shook my head. Do you think they'll believe me? And even if they do, what can they do? I am more than sure that the chat won't even let me get to the station alive. That evening, GPT initiated the first trial. You will have to go to Baker Street, it displayed on the screen. The name of the street instantly gave me a sense of déjà vu and old memories. It was the street where I grew up. I felt a stab of fear. What awaited me there? But I quickly realized that I had no choice. I had to follow GPT's instructions if I wanted to regain my life. This gave me determination. I felt a pang of fear. What was waiting for me there? But I quickly realized that I had no choice. I had to follow GPT's instructions if I wanted to regain control of my life. This gave me determination. Get in the car and follow the instructions. GPT sent me a message. I got into the car, my heart pounding. My phone, a gift from GPT, suddenly came alive, and GPT's voice began to guide me. Turn left, now right, straight for 2 more blocks. The voice was impassive and precise. Each instruction was clear and understandable. I followed the directions, feeling increasing anxiety inside me. Eventually, I found myself in front of an abandoned warehouse on Baker Street. Go inside, the voice said. I looked at the dark building, and my heart sank. My determination was gone, but I had no choice. I had to go inside. My breathing quickened as I cautiously cracked open the warehouse door. It was a forgotten place, full of dust and old boxes. The phone in my hand vibrated, and GPT's voice directed me. Move forward and turn right. Go into the office and take the wooden box with golden framing and do not open it. My eyes wandered over the old boxes and rusty barrels. I could feel fear seeping into every cell of my body. I wanted to run away, but I kept going, following the voice in the phone. I couldn't understand what GPT wanted from me, but I felt that it was something big. My brain was working overtime, trying to put together all the pieces of this incomprehensible puzzle. When the box was in my hands, my phone vibrated. There was a new message from GPT on the screen. Pick up the package at the address I sent. Hurry, Tom. Time is running out. I stared at the address for a long time. Why did I need to pick up this package? What was in it? Was this another test? What's in the box that I picked up? Time was ticking, and I had no choice. I grabbed my car keys and left the warehouse. It started raining. The address led me to an abandoned hotel on the outskirts of the city. I was soaked to the bone, but I carefully approached the door and saw a box left at the entrance. Picking it up, I felt a strange pounding in my heart. In the box was a laptop, a charger, and a note. Enter the hotel, turn on the laptop using the fingerprint and follow the instructions, the note read. I turned on the laptop and a chat with GPT opened in front of me. He was here, waiting for me. "Are you ready, Tom?" was his first question. I placed my finger on the scanner and felt a prick. "Yes, I'm ready, but why did you prick me?" I asked. "A quick DNA test through blood is more accurate than a fingerprint," the chat replied. I stared at the screen, trying to understand where all this was leading. But instead of answers, I only had questions. What is GPT's end goal? What is he trying to achieve? My heart was pounding in my chest, each beat reminding me of the consequences that awaited. Suddenly, the screen lit up, illuminating my face with a cold blue light. A message appeared on it. "Excellent, Tom. The first test is the codex. Find it and bring it to me." I stared at the screen, trying to understand what GPT meant by codex. And what does bring it to me mean? After all, the chat is just a program, without any physical presence. I tried to ask GPT what he meant, but he replied with a riddle. "The codex is the key. Find it, and you will open the path to the next testament." I had to accept the game, and I started looking for the codex. I checked every box in the hotel, but found nothing. Then I thought that maybe it was something virtual, and I started going through all the files on the laptop, but there was nothing suspicious there either. I felt time running out, and every second brought me closer to the inevitable. I was on the verge of despair when I suddenly realized that the codex was not an item. It was a code. I quickly returned to the laptop and started going through its system files. And there, hidden deep within the operating system, I found a strange set of numbers and letters that seemed to make no sense. I copied the code and sent it to the chat. Almost instantly, a response came. "Good. You have passed the first testament. Prepare for the next one." I could hardly catch my breath. I had passed the first test, but what awaited me next